pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231 of Public Laws of 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of the regular meetings on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and by providing a copy of the annual notice of the regular meetings for the year 2016 to the Glen Ridge paper, the Glen Ridge Voice, the Montclair Times, and to the Star Ledger on Tuesday, January 5th, 2016, and by filing said notice in the office of the municipal clerk. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Hughes is absent. Councilperson Lisovich. Here. Lefkowitz.
Here.
Dawson.
Here.
Councilman Murphy is absent. Councilwoman Morrow.
Here.
Mayor Patrick is present. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to change the order of the agenda tonight to swear in a police officer, Michael Hine.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Michael High, our new police officer, present, happy. If you'd like to come on up. You can bring anybody from your family that wants to come up and be with you or hold the Bible.
State your name.
I, Michael High,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
Support the Constitution of the United States.
to support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
And bear true faith
and to bear true faith
and allegiance to the same.
and allegiance to the same,
And to the governments
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of people.
under the authority of the people,
So help me God.
so help me God.
I state your name.
I, Michael High,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of police officer
perform all the duties of the police officer
for the Borough of Essex,
for the Borough of
the
Essex
County of Essex,
and the County of
and
Essex
the State of New Jersey,
and the State of New Jersey,
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my abilities,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, did it?
We know what you meant.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
No, I've been doing that since.
Okay, back on the agenda. Can I have a resolution to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 28, 2016?
I will so move.
Second. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Lisovich.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Dawson.
Aye.
Morrow.
I have to abstain, but I think it was a very solid meeting. I'm sorry I missed it. Covered a lot.
Our students were excited.
So we
Yeah.
have 3 ayes, no nays, and 1 abstention. The motion carries.
Thank you. Are there any written communications?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First, correspondence is from Richard Hammer, Acting Commissioner for the Department of Transportation. It's good news. We're going to receive $240,000 in state aid for our 2016 municipal aid program.
Good. Please file these communications.
And then we received from the Essex County Board of Taxation resolution noting establishing the percentage of 100% as the ratio of assessed value to a real property in the county. And then finally, we received information from the County of Essex Department of Public Works regarding the mosquito control program. That concludes correspondence.
Thank you. This is time for comments of the public. Anybody wish to be heard? Seeing no one, we'll move on. I have a comment this evening. Last Wednesday, we met with several representatives of New Jersey Transit to discuss the staircase or lack of progress in installing the new staircase at the train station. Briefly, they claimed the major problem which led to the delays were that the old architectural drawings which they had were not accurate as to measurements, etc. They also found that under the footings there was no support at all. It was hollow under there, so they had to do some catch-up work there. But leaving that aside, the current status is that the staircase is in the process of being prefabricated. They expect that the prefabricated staircase will be completed by the end of this week and possibly earlier, which would allow it possibly to be delivered to New Jersey Transit this week. Once the staircase is delivered to the job site here in Glen Ridge, they assure us that the installation will only take 1 week. So they are pretty firm in telling us that they can commit to having this thing completed by April 30th. At any rate, we will be getting an update from them this Friday, and we should know better where the staircase is and whether it's moving according to what they've been told, what their schedule is. So hopefully this is going to get behind us sooner rather than later. But that's all I have.
Are you sure it would fit?
You better keep your fingers crossed. I noticed in the drawings they sent us, Michael, that are for the east side, not the west side. So maybe it's going to be backwards.
Fuzzy.
Any rate, Paul, do you have a report for Finance and Administration tonight?
Yes, sure. I'll cover for Councilperson Hughes in Finance. I just have a couple of resolutions. First is containment of claims and warrants. Resolution number 63-16. Be it resolved that the following claims be approved and warrants be drawn for same. The largest item is into our current fund, from our current fund through the Board of Education, a number in the amount of in excess of $2.8 million. Payroll is also on the list at $129,591, and then there are relatively minor amounts after that. Be it resolved that the Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer of the Borough is hereby authorized to issue the payroll for the employees of the Borough of Glen Ridge for the pay date of April 11. Mr. Mayor, I move the resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion?
These are relatively routine payments that we make in the ordinary course.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Lovett,
Aye.
Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Dawson,
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
4 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
And also on behalf of Finance, I have resolution number 64-16, which deals with our water rate schedule, which will be increased by 2% this year. Be it resolved that the Mayor and the Borough Council approve the following rates for the consumption of water in the Borough, and establish these rates to become effective at the billing of April 12, 2016. Mr. Mayor, I move the resolution.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any further discussion?
Only as I said, the water rate increase will be 2% this year.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Lovett,
Aye.
Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Dawson,
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
4 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
And that's all I have for Finance, and I just have one brief item for Public Safety. A very exciting raffle that will be held, resolution number 65-16. The Mayor and the Borough Council do hereby approve the application of Meadowlands Area YMCA for an on-premise merchandise raffle to be held on June 6th at the Country Club. Mr. Mayor, I move the resolution.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that as well.
Thank you, David. Any discussion? I think that they're going to be holding that out in the tennis courts.
Yeah, I was going to raise that question. What's the status?
Well, the status is there's no roof on the building. They're putting steel in to raise the roof. It's not going to be ready, I can assure you, on June 6th. So their plans are any events that they have, they'll put tents up on the tennis courts and handle them in that
All right, so
fashion.
that'll be under a tent that day then.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Patovich,
Aye.
Dawson,
Aye.
Morrow,
Aye.
4 ayes, no nays, resolution is approved.
That's all I have. I just would acknowledge once again that we had the pleasure of swearing in a new officer at the beginning of this meeting. Michael High.
Good.
That's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, I have no report this evening, but I do have Resolution 66-16 regarding Arbor Day that notes that whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees confer benefits, environmental, commercial, public, and even spiritual, and whereas our own borough of Glen Ridge has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue our tree planting ways, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the council of the borough of Glen Ridge do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2016 as Arbor Day in the borough of Glen Ridge. I move the resolution.
Do I hear a second? Thank you, Paul. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Patovich,
Aye.
Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Dawson,
Aye.
Morrow,
Aye.
4 ayes, no nays, the resolution is approved.
Thank you.
I'll briefly give you an update of what's been going on in Public Works. Our people have, in the back of the town yard, put in a whole bunch of those concrete billets, which you can buy for not very much. They're about, I guess, 3 feet square and then 6 or so feet long, and they stack them. So we've dug back into the hillside a little bit and squared the thing up and put these billets around, so it really looks like a lot more space now, and it'll be a lot more serviceable for when we're putting leaves and stuff in there. You know, you can push back against these billets. So that's a big improvement. We've also started working on the fields, getting things ready to go. So far we're in pretty good shape. All the equipment's hanging in there pretty good, and everybody's, you know, working hard on stuff. We've got a good supply of brine, which we can keep all summer, and the salt's the same thing. We wound up not using much of it, and hopefully we won't need any more of it. So that's where we are with that. And the fields, again, are in good shape for the time. I have a ordinance to appropriate various grants funds for various capital improvements for roads. And this is related to the letter that we had from the NJ DOT, State of New Jersey, hammer that Michael referred to earlier. Be it enacted and ordained by the mayor and the council of the borough of Glen Ridge, the county of Essex, and the state of New Jersey as follows. The improvements to various streets, including but not limited to Herman Street, Edgewood Road, Cambridge Road, and Avon Place, and the sum of $240,000 is appropriated from the New Jersey DOT Municipal Aid Program for the aforesaid improvements. It's to be performed under the direction of the Borough Administrator, Engineer, and the Deputy Administrator of Planning and Director of Planning and Development. It will not increase our gross debt as defined, so it's not a current expense and is an acquisition which may be lawfully made. Be it further enacted and ordained, this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon final passage, and publication thereof is provided by law. So this is the first reading. I have ordinance number 1641 for first reading. Mr. Mayor, so that's the ordinance.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thanks, Paul. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Lesovich.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Dawson.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
4 ayes, no nays. The ordinance is passed on first reading.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Paul?
Yeah, I'll cover for Councilperson Murphy on Parks and Recs as well. The George Washington Field, our joint project there continues to really help us big time in the spring. It's really worked out to be quite well, worked out quite well for us, sharing it with Montclair. Just want to remind everybody also that in Aquaria Park, we have a major project going on in terms of drainage on the eastern side of the field, and also some renovations to the playground area on the western side. And then the consideration is also for the little dog area, dog park in that area as well. And finally, the pool applications are open. We're taking applications for the pool for this coming season, so anyone who wants to apply, please do so.
There are several ways of applying up there. Can you go on the web and?
Yeah, Mike, you can,
Oh, yeah.
there's different ways you can apply.
Oh, yes, you could, we used to do everything by paper, now we have online application, and for the first year, you could pay your dues by credit card.
Yeah, we renovated the pool house last year. It really came out great.
Yeah, it really
Super
did.
job. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
We'll be turning the water on there in another week or so.
Anne Marie?
Yep. I have just a brief update on Mountainside School of Nursing redevelopment plan. The next step was a joint meeting, again, of Glen Ridge and Montclair. We met separately to review comments to the plan that was proposed. So there is a joint meeting at the moment, agreed to, scheduled for Wednesday, May 11th at 7:30, and that will be at the Montclair Firehouse. The agenda of that meeting will be to review the joint comments. It will also be a public meeting, as all board meetings are public, but the main purpose is to keep the plan going and to get the comments, joint comments presented. And that's all I have.
Michael, do you have anything?
I guess I do, Mr. Mayor. Regarding the Arbor Day event, this is the 60th anniversary of the Glen Ridge Rotary Club, and the club is going to donate six elm trees to the borough, which I believe the Boy Scouts are going to plant in Glen. That'll be on the 29th. And on the 30th, we're going to have our biannual Glen cleanup. We'll meet at 9 o'clock at the gazebo as one site, and the other side will be Glenville Park, and we'll meet at the entrance across from the tennis courts. And that concludes my report.
Joe?
Mayor, I have no report.
Chief?
Mr. Mayor, thanks again tonight for allowing us to swear in Mr. Rojo, Michael Hyde. For those of you who were meeting him for the first time tonight, he's currently an alternate route candidate at the State County Police Academy, which means he's putting himself through the academy, and at some point, most of the recruits that do that hope to get picked up by police departments. So we're proud to have him. We won't see him on the street until May 24th. Which is his graduation day, but thanks again for taking the time tonight.
Good. Is there any new or unfinished business?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Some chance for the public to speak again?
Yes.
Hi, Deborah Dines, 6 Laurel Place. At the last planning board meeting, Laurel Place handed out this petition, which was signed by almost every house on the street, supporting the closure of Laurel Place. We would like to say that it was suggested at the planning board meeting that the idea be brought before the mayor and council. We are interested in exploring the possible introduction and adoption of creating an ordinance to close the street. Thank you.
I think I'd like to try to summarize the position of the council as it's been discussed in previous meetings, so we have it on the record. First, there was an original traffic study in Laurel Place which was totally flawed and therefore totally invalid. And it will not be considered going forward because it was just not done at a time when any conditions were normal. Bay Street had been closed down. Two, I think we have stated several times that we would need to do another traffic study when conditions were considered to be more normal. Third, we certainly cannot and will not do anything regarding traffic flow on Laurel. We will, after the next study is done, I should say that, if it's warranted. But we will not do anything considering a cul-de-sac until all the ordinances regarding the area of redevelopment have been passed by both Montclair and Glen Ridge. Because there's no project there, there's not going to be any difference in flow. We will or may have to consider traffic flows from a development on Baldwin Street if the builder's remedy goes through. We don't know where that's going to go, but that may coincide with what happens in this area of redevelopment. But that's going to have traffic implications. We will also certainly consider alternatives prior to closing off Laurel Place or any other street to be sure that the alternatives are not as workable. So I think that it's highly unlikely that we will be addressing any consideration of closing off any part of Laurel until these things take place, and that could be at least a year away, maybe more. Would anybody care to jump in and advise?
I thought we mentioned it, maybe it was about a month ago when you were here. We talked about all the moving parts and that another study was going to be done, and depending upon what that study showed, we make some considerations. But that whole area, again, there's an issue about Baldwin Street. Now there's the issue about the MOB building. None of that stuff is completed yet. So whatever we do in that area has to be done comprehensively. We shouldn't be doing it piecemeal, and it's never been our intention to do it piecemeal. We're certainly concerned about safety on your street, and that's why we're having another study done. But the flaws that the mayor was talking about in the original study were that Bay Avenue was closed at the time, and that definitely changed the traffic flow, and it did increase it. We did a subsequent study, and I think we mentioned that, and then that subsequent study showed that there was really not a lot of traffic on your block. So what we will do, again, is we're going to do this study now from an independent viewpoint with a third party, and we'll consider it. But again, I think the consideration has to be looking at this, your request, within the context of all of the development that's taking place in the area. It really wouldn't make any sense for us to do piecemeal at this point. But we'll certainly share, and I know you've been very conscientious about your concerns there. As soon as this study is done, you'll have it, and we'll be able to discuss it. And then we can make some plans, whatever those plans are. It still has to be in conjunction with everything else in the area.
And I guess would also mention in connection with the Mountainside plan, once we get through this phase, there'll be the site plan review, and certainly the traffic flow and traffic direction is an essential part of that site plan as well.
If I might just ask one question about, you just said there was some concern about Baldwin Street. Is there anything new about Baldwin Street, or just trying to take all the streets into account?
There's nothing new about Baldwin other than...
Well, there's a proposed development there, which, is not anywhere near coming to fruition yet. So if they, depending on if something actually gets done there, but depending on how big it is and things like that, it's going to have an impact on the whole area. But that's...
You are aware, right, that the town is involved in a lawsuit. We talked about it with the color litigation and so on. So that's all pending.
The other thing you mentioned is Claremont. put a traffic light now instead of a four-way stop?
Yeah, we're working with Montclair. There's several improvements that are occurring in Montclair. One, I believe there's a proposal to change the four-way stop at Pine and Claremont possibly to a traffic signal. So we would have to look at that if they install the traffic signal at Island and Bay as part of the redevelopment plan, how the two signals could be coordinated. So there's some issues that were just brought to light last week about some improvements that we were not aware of now that we have to account for as part of the redevelopment plan.
But, you know, like, the mayor said, you know, nothing's gonna happen, you know, in the next couple of months at all. It's gonna be a long time before everything gets resolved and any construction actually gets
Yeah,
done.
but our traffic
Yeah.
study is going to
Right.
take place
Right.
very
Yeah.
soon. We waited until after the winter, so
Yeah.
it can be done. And that will be in development.
We appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
We really do.
Well, if there's nothing else from the public, then, David, do you have a motion for us?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
I would say a couple of weeks. Now, as long as there's no more snow prediction.
Yeah, again, that's,
You know, it,